Where is
Just
he?
chilling, man.
Oh, nice. Now
Yeah,
we're talking. This fucking
yeah.
episode is off to a start.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 58. Dusty Hanshaw, myself, Big Ron Partlow, and on today's episode, Terrence Ruffin. We're here, Dusty.
We're here. Terrence is waiting for us. We thought we were waiting for him. There's a lot of
Bring it in.
mixed signals.
So, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Ron Partlow here with Dusty Hanshaw. We're happy to have you on. You're an amazing bodybuilder, and we just want to bring you on for a conversation and get to know you a little bit better. I know there's a lot of fans that love the guests we bring on, and we tend to bring on the hardcore guys. So, welcome to the show.
Yo, that's awesome, man. I didn't know I was considered hardcore, but that's a compliment for sure.
Yeah, no, you can't really walk around looking like that and place the way you're placing and stuff without being a hardcore. You train with Joe Bennett too, so that's
Yeah. I know you guys had him on, right?
Oh
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us what it's like training there.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I met Joe back in 2016. He found me after I won my first pro show, the Tampa Pro, and he just hit me up and said, "Hey, I like your physique, but I see some things to do on." So maybe like a month after he hit me up, we scheduled up for me to make a trip down to Tampa. That was about 6.5 hours drive. And we, after that first session, I was like, this is the guy I want to train with. I moved down here maybe 2018. So about 2 years after that, I moved down here, and now we train together pretty much every day.
What was that like? Like, that's sort of interesting that he emailed you and said, you're good, but there's some areas you can improve on.
After a win.
Yeah.
I like that part the best.
How did you? Was it just the way he came across was so professional? Because that could be taken the wrong way too, right?
I mean, I guess it could. It just depends on the person and like their ego or whatnot. But I mean, I was 21. I didn't know, or 22. I knew I didn't know anything. So
yeah.
I know I didn't know anything. So
that's kind of what I'm saying. You're smart enough to not take it the wrong way. A lot of young hot-headed about that sort of thing, right?
Right. And then the thing on top of that is I had took a year off because I turned pro in 2014, and then in between that time and there was no classic, so my whole thing was trying to get bigger for the 212, and I took a year off in 2015, and honestly, I didn't really put on that much size, so I knew something I was doing wasn't working, and I was like, well, if this guy has something different I can do, then let me see about it.
Nice.
One thing that I did watch your interview with Fuad. It was like 6 months ago. It was kind of interesting because you'd just done the Arnold, so like the mass lockdowns hadn't happened yet and stuff. So it's kind of interesting to watch and just sort of get a bit of a snapshot into the past. But in that interview, you really seemed to stress the importance of training for developing your physique. And how did Joe sort of contribute to that when you went to train with him?
Well, the biggest thing is some very, very simple stuff, just progressive overload. But on top of that, just making sure the execution was right too. Some people, they continue to add weight, and then the form gets worse and worse and worse. So they're really not getting any stronger. They're doing other things to do more weight, but it doesn't equivalent to getting stronger. So that was the biggest thing, just adding weight, but also keeping the same. What we're doing is actually working. So that was the biggest change for me.
Is there anything that you do to, because I obviously Dusty and I are very progressive with our training over our careers, kind of a common theme on this show, but everyone that does progressive overload, they sort of have to have some checks and balances for making sure their form doesn't degrade over time. So is there any sort of system you use, sort of like every 5-6 weeks, maybe you like check your form and back off weight again and make sure your form's mint? Or is there any, how do you keep your eye on that?
Joe does it. I mean, so I don't have to yeah, he does it for me now. Yeah. So, so it's pretty easy. As long as he says I'm doing things right, that's all, that's good. We haven't really had to back off anything too much. When we do a new exercise, that's pretty much the only time we kind of take it a little bit easy. We don't take things to failure. Like we just added in leg. We took out safety bar squats and we added in leg extensions. So for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we weren't taking anything to failure. Just kind of getting used to that exercise, really.
Mm-hmm. You've also talked about using the same exercises over and over and over to get strong and be progressive, which is sort of the opposite of what a lot of people like to do with constantly changing things up. Right now, what exercises are you like focused on? Like you got your weekly goals on. What are some of the exercises you're kicking ass on right now?
Well, that's okay. Things that are going, like my leg training is pretty boring right now, I would say. I mean, only thing we're actually trying to get better on all the ham curl movements because I want my hamstrings to be bigger, but like quads and things like that is actually not really that. I do one working set on high squats now, and really just I think one on leg extensions as well, just because I'm trying to really balance my physique because my legs are in a really good spot. But I think I really need to work on my upper body. So pretty much everything with my upper body is really I'm trying to progress mainly on arms, which is the hardest thing because, like a 5-pound increase on like a dumbbell curl is way more than like a 5-pound increase on a half squat. It's a lot, way bigger percentage. So it's kind of slow. We're like finding ways. Like Joe, he just got like these baby weights or whatever, these baby plates. Like half a pound, a quarter of a pound, 1 pound, and he put magnets on them, and so we can attach those to the dumbbells to still progress and have the progressions a little bit slower. So we're just finding ways. We're like my favorite exercise is the single arm preacher curl on that. As for like triceps, we're doing like a Swiss bar press. Really good on my joints because a lot of people like doing the close grip stuff, but for me, having my arm in like a neutral position really, really helps my joint.
Man, I can't even hold a straight bar anymore. After 30 years of training, I can't even hold a straight bar. If my hand is locked, I'm screwed, but I got to be able to at least do that,
For sure. So that's another thing, too, that changed is like finding exercises that fit really, really well. Because for a long time, you don't know any better. You think, I have to do this exercise because this person did it. Even if it doesn't feel the best, this is the way you're supposed to do it to get bigger. This is a mass builder or whatever. But in my opinion, the best exercises are the ones that you can do and they feel good. They don't hurt because, if you keep doing exercise that hurts, when you're young, it's not a huge deal. But as you get older, that hurt gets worse and worse and worse. So you can't even do anything.
Yeah, well, you nailed it with. It's funny. It's almost like we pre-talked to you with some of the things you're covering. Because I actually had a guy ask on my Q&A the other day. He said, "Hey, when I'm deadlifting 495, I can get 8 reps, but when I go up to 585, I can only get 2." And I'm like, "Well, let's keep in mind there's a lot of weight between 495 and 585. Why are we only going up a plate at a time? I don't care if you go up 5 pounds, literally like 2.5 aside. That's progression." And I think that's something I don't know why it got lost along the way. And I get it. Like, you're not going to put a 5-pound plate on a leg press, but on a lot of movements, you're going to add weight. And I'll be honest, if you got to the point that your leg press was that strong and a 5-pound was a move, fuck it, put it on there. It's more weight, and then the same thing with what you just said about the joints. Like, I literally will get that question all the time because I think honestly, because my body wasn't built for bodybuilding, so I have big joints, like skull crushers and things like that are comfortable. And people will be like, "Man, you got huge triceps, so that hurts my wrist. What should I do?" I'm like, "Well, don't fucking do it."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It seems it's like touching the hot, the hot stove twice. Like, it hurt the first time. Let's knock that shit off, shall we?
Yeah. I was going to ask you. You said you only do one working set of hacks now.
Yeah.
Because your quads are kind of where you want them. So, are you taking that set like to the fucking wall, or is it just a good solid set to failure kind of standard issue stuff?
It's a good set to failure. Like, we're not doing any like crazy like drops or anything. Maybe like one assisted rep, so one pass failure. Yeah. In the past when I was a little bit younger and I was training with them, we would do a lot harder stuff. We would do like drops and like strip sets and stuff. But yeah, now it's weird because with classic there's this weight limit, so you really do have to like really pay attention to the volume and what's growing and what you need to grow, because at a certain point you can't put on any more muscle in classic. So yeah, we're really just trying to maintain. And like this past, since the Arnold to now, I mean, my legs are pretty much the same. So my hamstrings are growing, my quads are pretty much the same. Like I said, I got maybe 5 to 7 pounds, depending on how hard I can pull down to grow. So really just trying to build my upper body with that extra weight that I have.
You have to be under 175, right?
Right.
What do you weigh right now?
Craziest 175 I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Your 175 looks like 240.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know people don't realize.
It just shows truthfully, like what ratios do. I don't think people really get it. Like, you'll see somebody say, "Oh, but you're X amount of weight, you're bigger than Phil Heath," and you're like, "No."
It's really weird, man, because like, I mean, especially with you guys being coaches, you see sometimes guys, even to the point where like they may not even have like crazy wide hips or crazy wide whatever, but they just look heavier than what they are for some reason. I have this one guy, he I don't understand it, but like he doesn't look very big. He's one of my clients. He's not a big guy, but for some reason he's still too big for classic physique. He can't make the weight limit for it. Yeah. And he's shredded to the bone, and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Some people are just heavier for whatever reason.
Yeah, I have an 80-pound head, so right away, I mean, I got a deficit.
That puts you right there.
Yeah, super heavyweight from birth,
Yeah. Oh, but to answer the question, I'm like 189 right now, so I got not too hard, not too far to go.
That's so fun. I was just looking at your page, though, so it baffles me. Like, how tall are you?
I am 5'5".
Truthfully, like, because obviously, I hung around Jose for years, and seeing him at even conditioned at 220 or so, it really lets you know how you're like Birdman. You got hollow bones. There's no fucking way that you're 190 pounds.
This back picture that you posted.
Oh yeah.
That's just utterly ridiculous. Like, you look like you're like 250 pounds. Like, because there's no one else in the photo.
That, no one would say no. No one would call your ass out on that.
And it's a Smith machine, so it could be any height. You don't really know. It's just like
that's the secret. Yeah, I don't take pictures with people too often. Nah.
Set the Smith machine really low.
Anytime Joe's in the picture, he's like behind me and sitting down, so you can't tell.
You snapped that picture. That picture I posted you today had him sitting in the background. That's funny as shit.
And Joe's aware, like, he's trying to look smaller to like help market you. Right?
One sec, I gotta scoot back 3 more feet. One sec.
Sideways. It's because he's like, we want to make you look huge in this. Trust me. Joe's smart. Joe knows what's going on.
Oh yeah, he just doesn't tell me, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah, I'm sure anything in bodybuilding would make someone like you feel bad. That's crazy. So how many weeks are we out then right now?
I think a little under 12 now. Yeah. So I've been dieting for maybe 4-ish weeks now, about a month. Yeah, I started prep around like 195. Yeah. The peak I weighed in the off season, I finally broke 200, so that was pretty cool for me. I think I got up to 203, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
That's fucking so wacky. Then your diet is obviously just very slow. You just bring it down because you're not losing that much weight, and you never get fat. So,
Yeah, he's only made this. He made his second change to my diet last week. We started out prep with like 40 minutes, 3 times a week. I went from like 195 to 191 over a couple weeks, and then he just made his second change where I'm doing 40. He added 5 minutes to cardio. He took out like the equivalent of a cup of rice total. He took out a half a cup in 2 meals, and I dropped another 3 pounds. So yeah, I'm like these small changes in like weight like that. It's a pretty good sign, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When the body's
how much are you suffering? Like, tell us what your diet's like.
Oh man, I always forget. I knew I should have looked at the macros. I'm doing about. Let's see, I can add it up. I got 3 packets of grits. I'm just gonna probably my protein's really high for I guess most people. Like I don't know, it's like 340 grams of protein, about I think it's around 70 grams of fat right now. Carbs are my first meal is 60 grams, plus intra-workouts 100, post-workouts 100, so that's 260. Then I got 3 more meals, so no, 4 more meals. 4 meals, 2 meals are 1 cup of rice, so that's around 70 grams, so 260 plus 70, 330, plus the other 2 meals is 50. So 100. So
430?
Yeah, 430 right now.
That's plenty of food.
Yeah, I'm not complaining at all. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, it's real easy.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you, let me ask you this, though, because this is a good transition for people. How, give or take, like how much extra carbs were you eating when you were not growing, but off season? I know I don't want to use the word growing with you because you have to be so cautious. You only have so much growing you're allowed to do.
I was doing, he hasn't taken out much. So I've had maybe 2 extra cups of rice this off season.
Right.
So, and he took out some fats. So I had like a 4th cup of like cashews with 2 meals. So that's the only, so he's taken out since I started my prep, the equivalent like throughout the day, 2 cups of rice and a half cup of
cashews.
Cashews.
Right.
So and he added the cardio. So that's it. That's the only change so far.
And do you do what's up with you guys in like cheat meals or anything like that? Is that weekly? Is that never? Is that what?
Never. So not really ever. I think I like the way he does it. And I don't really have any cravings. To be honest, I don't have an issue with that. But the last show we had maybe 3 to 4 refeeds. A couple of them were 200, a couple of them was 150 grams of carbs. And he lets me do it however I want to do it. So a lot of times I'll add maybe a little bit from fruit because I just really like fruit. And then I'll add in maybe like rice cakes and just normal rice. So and I kind of do it throughout the day.
Right. Yeah. No, I asked that because I think these are things that it amazes me as so one of the main things that we get, I just had a guy actually, my question here is, what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And I'm always amazed because you're like, the long-term goal will be, I want to turn pro, win a pro show, and be top 5 at the Olympia. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Okay. I'm glad we're keeping this small.
How about squat 4 plates?
And then we go to but then you go through the first week of dieting, and there were 2 cheats, and I'm so you're not genetically you're not Terrence genetically, and he's also outworking you and also out disciplining you. How do these things happen? And I think that's why I like to drive home and ask those questions, because I kind of knew based on your physique, because it's like, there are levels to this genetically, but then beyond that, it's like, you're not going to get outworked either.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like, that's the thing, especially like, I've been blessed in a lot of ways, genetically. Like, I get in shape pretty easy. I have a good structure. But the one thing that's been hard for me is putting on weight. So me having to like the off season is literally like the most important part of bodybuilding for me because I'm lucky. I'm lucky to put on like 3-4 pounds. I've never been that guy to put on 10 pounds in a year or something like that. So yeah, I definitely have to. Every time I'm in the gym, I have to be very, very aware, and that's why I moved down here because when I got out of the military, I had a choice: move down with my my coach who did my nutrition, or I had a choice to move down here with Joe. And it's Matt. At the time, I really liked Matt. I liked hanging out with him. I would come and stay with him when I went to Olympia. But just career-wise, I was like, okay, well, I need to have someone to actually get me through training every day. So it's a better idea for me to move here at the time. So, so yeah, man, I definitely think people have to pay attention to certain things, but everyone's working hard, man. Everyone likes to say they're the hardest worker in the gym or this and that, but everybody's working hard. Everybody is.
What are your thoughts about outgrowing Classic and moving to 212?
Like I said, I mean, if it happens, I mean, I may do it, but let's talk about like Keon and George. Those guys have put on muscle really, really easy. I've never been that guy to do that. So even if I got to a point where I'm like getting too big for Classic, there's still a huge gap. At least in my mind right now, there's a huge gap before I would do well in 212. It would take, like, let's say like I said, my cap is 175. I would need it. I may be wrong, but I feel like I would need at least 15 pounds, and that for me, that may take like 4 or 5 years.
What's Clarita weigh?
Clarita's shorter than me, but yeah, he's like 180. He's actually a little bit heavier than me now. I think he's 180 now.
Yeah, he's just a bit heavier, but he's about an inch shorter, right?
He's 5'2".
Yeah, I was gonna say he's 3 inches shorter. Yeah,
3 inches shorter. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's a
So you'd have to be like 190. You'd have to be in the 190s. 190s, so. Yeah.
190, 195. Yeah.
To kind of have that look.
But I will say that some of the things I've noticed as I gotten older, I don't know what it is. Kind of weird to say, but everything's gotten easier bodybuilding wise, and it's not even like mentally. I mean, mentally it's easier, but like getting in shape is easy. Like I've never dieted on that much carbs. I've never done this little cardio. I put on weight pretty quickly this off season. I was very surprised. Like I started my off season late because of quarantine and everything. But I went from like 185, 188 to 200 in maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, and that's never happened to me before to put on that type of weight that fast. So I mean, things may change. Maybe I am. I don't know. I have no idea. But
you're so old now because you're like 26, right?
Yeah, I'll be 27 this month. Yeah.
He kept saying older, Rod. I had to say it. I'm like, I want people to know how old he is.
I'm sitting here thinking, oh, here we go.
I'm not old, but I'm older than I was.
Older.
Well, I'm older than I was yesterday too, but I'm still fucking old.
Yeah.
So
good shit.
So let's one thing we like to get into with everybody is we kind of want to ask some questions about like where does this come from? Your drive, your focus, your desire to be the best. Picking something that's super, super challenging and sort of encompasses everything. We find that everyone on the show sort of has their own explanation for why they love this or why they chose it or why they're good at it.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about bodybuilding that makes you want to do it?
It's a mixture of things, and people may not like my answer, but I originally got into bodybuilding, so I kind of give a full. Got into bodybuilding because, like most people, someone suggested, hey, maybe you'll like this. So and I found so I went to the grocery store, picked up some magazines because back then magazines were still pretty popular. So, so I picked up a magazine. I saw Dexter Jackson on the cover, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And 6 months later, I hopped on stage. I got last place. And yeah, I got the trophy. Actually, that's the one trophy I keep. My 5th place trophy here.
That's awesome. That's the trophy he keeps.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of people. I think I continued for a while because I started like after that show, I started to do really well. So I continued because obviously, I had some sort of a talent for it. But I think it's a mixture of like, most like, I think I wouldn't be as into bodybuilding as I am if I wasn't, somewhat good at it. I think everyone has gifts and talents, and I think it's a responsibility for people to really to do those things. I mean, I don't have a problem with people that like bodybuilding that aren't good at it. I'm not saying don't like bodybuilding, but I'm saying that if you have a talent, I think you should pursue it, no matter what it is. And whether it's like guys like Joe, he's not the best bodybuilder, but his talent is educating people. His talent is helping other people grow. Then go for it. So I think that's part of the reason why I like bodybuilding too. I have a talent for it, and I have a talent for art. I'm a really good poser, and I really, really enjoy that portion of it. And that's a really big reason too, because growing up, I was an artist. I sold paintings, I drew. I was going to go to art school. I didn't want to go into debt, so I joined the military instead. And going back into bodybuilding now so it's a mixture of that, me being able to do something that I enjoy with the posing, and also being able to do something that I'm good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your main influences when it comes to the posing? Like, did you just watch a million Flex Wheeler and Lee Labrada videos, or what?
Definitely Lee Labrada. Lee Labrada, I think, is the best poser ever. Lee Labrada is definitely number one for me. A couple other guys I really like is Muhammad Makawi, Kai Green, Bob Harris, Francis Benfato, Ed Courtney, some of those guys. Yeah. Sure.
What's it like? I mean, we all have an experience with this, but I think some of the people listening, like, you got into bodybuilding, you follow a Lee Labrada, you follow a Kai Green, and then you fast forward a couple of years and you're on a first name basis with them. I mean, what's that like for you? Because I find it's an interesting thing. So I always wonder what other people think with that.
Man, especially Lee, because I'll say I've met a couple guys that I was very, inspired by when I was first getting into bodybuilding, and I meet them, and it's not, they don't quite live up to expectations. Not that they're bad people or anything, they just don't quite live up to what you thought they were going to be. But I say Lee for sure. Lee Labrada was literally like, I've seen him a few times now, and I'm still like, this dude is the man, this is the guy. Yeah, and every time, like, he said some really nice things. He's watched a couple of my routines. He's said things like, "Hey man, you're carrying on the torch," and like, I don't think he understands quite what that means to me, because it literally, like, I'm like filled with emotion. That's the best way I can explain it. Because someone I look up to and someone that I would like to emulate in certain ways, and this guy that I've based some of my movements and some of what I've done on is saying these things to me, and it's amazing, man. And even to the point now, like, I was surprised. He hit me up the other day, asking me for some my opinion on, like, giving him some recommendations for song choices for Hunter, and I'm like, this is really, really cool. Yeah, I try not to fanboy. I try to keep it cool, whatever. But nah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think what lessons do you think you may have learned in the Air Force, in the military, that you would say you still sort of carry with you and apply to bodybuilding?
The biggest thing I would say is a lot of things. I mean, and I got this from a lot of different things in life, but I guess the military kind of reinforced, like, a lot of things that people stress about isn't worth stressing about. Life is going to keep on going, and even if it bothers you now, a week, a month, or whatever down the road, you're going to realize, hey, this wasn't that big of a deal. So I think keeping calm is probably the biggest thing with me. Like, it helped me deal with stress very, very well. And we all know in bodybuilding, you know, stress isn't a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dust.
No, I'm just looking at that and just thinking, because it's funny, the assumption you would have on what, because you know you are a militant athlete, like everything you do is structured. You know, I mean, when I asked you about cheat meals, you kind of laugh, like, why would I do that? Like, yeah. And it's funny because then when he asked the question, your answer was totally different than what I would have expected, because I think, like you said, you had that before the military. You had to have. That's kind of, it just appears to be in you. Like, as following you as a fan, I see it as well. It's just, this is just what it takes to do what I do. I don't think you ever say to yourself, "Oh man, I wish I could have a cheeseburger."
Yeah. It's weird. Like, you know, a lot of people, I think, you know, it's funny. Going to MI40, I met Ben. I talked to him for a while. And I don't know how true this is. I mean, obviously he's been doing it a lot longer than me, but he's like some of the best bodybuilders are the guys that like never stress about anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I've definitely been blessed with that. But even my mom, it kind of pisses like my mom off, or some of the, you know, people I've dated. They're like, you never get, like they'll be frustrated about something, and I'll just be like, okay, well, do this or do that, like, and they want me to get mad about it with them, and I'm like,
I was going to ask you if that other bothers people, because I get that all the time. People are like, you don't care, and I'm like, no, I care,
right?
But it doesn't do anything to do that. So you just move forward. Like, okay, you know what I mean? I know Ron, we had this this situation a couple times over the last few years where there's been like a death in the family or something. And Ron, it was so funny because I don't have a weird thing with death. A lot of people do. And apparently neither does Ron, because he had some situations happen and he was like, all right, well, we got the show on Monday. And I'm like,
oh, wow,
okay.
Yeah.
And that's how I function, because life is supposed to move forward regardless. But it does, like, other people would be like, I think Ron's a little fucked up.
No, you just got to move on. I find it interesting, though. You did 6 years in the Air Force, right?
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah, so yeah, because I expected you to say like, oh, you know, structure, discipline, you know, all these things. But like Dusty said, you know, there must have been in you already, because the first thing you said was, oh, it taught me how to be calm, you know.
You know what's crazy? Like, I think about it too. Like, my mom, when I was growing up, with dieting and stuff, she wasn't a super health freak, but she did like have certain things in place where it did make it easier with me with bodybuilding. Like, we didn't have sodas in the house, you know. We had very structured meals. I mean, like, it wasn't the most healthy stuff sometimes, but like a lot of times it was your protein, your carbs, your vegetables, you know, healthy meals. And as I got, so it wasn't like when I started bodybuilding, it wasn't like a drastic change. You know, I just added, you know, like another 2 meals to that at first, so 5 meals a day, and then, you know, now I do 6. So it wasn't too hard at all for me to switch to that.
Well, you said you were an artist before. What's your earliest memory of kind of being an artist? When did you kind of were you drawn and painting from? Yeah.
Real young. So I remember when I was real little, my mom talked about like I was always able to draw within the lines or whatever. But then I remember in elementary school sometime, I was selling kids pictures. Like I would ask them like, hey, what do you want your superhero to look like? Or what do you want his powers to be? And they would tell me, and I would draw a dude that's doing something like that, and they would pay me like a quarter or 50 cents, you know? So that's my
awesome.
earliest memory of that. Yeah.
So it's all starting to make sense to me right now, Ron, because like his artistic side went right into bodybuilding, and it shows in his physique. And my train wreck went right into bodybuilding, and it shows in my physique. It's all starting to make sense now. Guys, if you can't draw, just stop. Just stop.
It also shows that he's a hustler and an entrepreneur, so he should do well in this business of multiple revenue streams. You know?
What do you do primarily? Like, what's work for you with bodybuilding, and how did you create it?
I do coaching.
Okay.
So I'm just coaching now. I have about 50, 60 clients. And I started doing this full time in 2016. 17 when I left the military. It was really hard the first 2 years. It's just really taken off. Literally maybe late last year. I've been doing really well for myself. But yeah, the first year was very, very hard. The second year, I was making enough to actually like not be in debt, and now it's going pretty well.
That's a good grind though. I think more people need to realize that, because you had, number one, I mean, you've lived it, but you've got the experience, you know what you're doing, and it still takes time. I mean, you're you, and it still took time. You know what I'm saying? I think people are surprised, because I see it all the time where I kind of, I don't want to say I laugh because it sounds insulting, but I'll see good bodybuilders randomly put up like, I'm coaching now. And I'm like, this is all we do. You don't want to compete with me on the side. I'm going to kill you. Like, like, you better go all in if you're going to get into this, because as you know, I mean, 50, 60 clients, I'm in the same boat. Like, it's a 7-day-a-week job. And if they're overseas, I mean, it'll surprise clients, but it's like, okay, what time are you waking up tomorrow? They're like, they say, I'm like, what time is that for me? They're like, 2 a.m. I'm like, okay, I'll set an alarm. Send me pictures. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, I got to know what you look like tomorrow morning. I don't know, dude.
That's the thing. You know, I see a lot of things, no matter what it is with bodybuilding. And like, it sucks because there's no, like, if you're an athlete, like in NBA or NFL, you have people kind of giving you like some type of advice, and they're giving you like mentorship, you know. Bodybuilding, when you turn pro, there's nothing, you know, you figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? So like what I did with coaching, I hired you know, obviously I got certifications, and they're not super helpful, to be honest with you, but the best thing I got was a mentorship program. I worked with this guy named Austin Stout, lives up in Ohio. He kind of learned under John Meadows a bit, and who's Dr. Serrano, and I spent a lot of money on that. Like, people, you know, I actually invested in this. A lot of pros, they don't treat what they do as a business. They treat it as like you said, like a side thing, you know. But to be successful, you have to be very, very diligent with becoming better. And they can do it. I get it's tough being a bodybuilder, and most of them have a full-time job already. They're bodybuilding, and then they're also trying to build a side hustle of coaching, and they're not putting as much effort into it, but you have to. You know, I spent like several $1,000s with Austin to learn from him. You know, I spent the money on certifications. I'm still taking another one now to learn to get better. And because sometimes you need that. I needed that help personally to kind of piece together the knowledge. Because I had the knowledge with the certs and stuff, but I didn't have the experience. And like he helped me kind of bridge that gap. So you definitely have to. Because the thing is too, like, yeah, they may get a lot of clients in the beginning, but then real quick the clients know you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and they leave. So with coaching, the biggest thing is keeping clients, longevity of your clients. You know, keeping clients, long-term clients, not this in and out. Because you what they don't realize too is, you may keep getting new clients, but then the clients you lose are going to tell all their friends that you suck, and then it's just less, and it diminishes and it diminishes. It's not sustainable to work like that. So real quick, you have to know what you're doing. Yeah, for sure.
No, I think that's you nailed it. That's why I'm glad it came up, because it's key to also be progressing. Like you said, like, you've got 50, 60 clients now, but you're getting a new cert. You're doing this. Like, I think I've hired everyone. Like, even now, I hire friends all the time. So I'm like, oh, there's something different there, and they know. Like, I want to learn something from everyone I work from. And there's always a gem somewhere. And if I spend $1,000 and I get one thing, I'm like, I'm good with that. Like, I can use that permanently moving forward.
Most people, they don't want to invest in themselves.
Yeah, well, it's a business. That's the thing, though. You look at it. You said it's a business, so you're treating it that way. I love hearing that, because it's your clients should be stoked to hear that. Like, the Terrence that they were working with a year ago is not as good as the one they're going to work with in 3 years.
Yeah. It's always funny. I look back and I'm like, man, I wonder what they say about me because I remember some of my first clients. I was like, what the fuck was I doing, man?
Well, you ought to start. I mean, I did the same. I think I did it the other day. I started in 2001 training clients, but I did it for free because they started coming into my shop and asking me, and I was like, well, I'm not really qualified, so I'll help you, but I might fuck up. But it's free. And I think I trained people for 2 years before I ever took $1, because I was like, then I realized, like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. But just like you said, now I still look back at when I knew what I was doing, and I'm like, oh God. You can't always lower the calories, Dusty. Holy shit.
You still had guys winning shows. It's like, compared to other people, you still knew more.
Yeah.
Like, it's you're still, that's why your people were doing good, and you kept growing your business, So, because at the end of the day, it is about results, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot that you could pass on to a client aside from perfect knowledge. Is like motivating them and driving them to be better and stuff. And so that's part of being a coach as well. And I think that that's where the value of having a coach who's done something themselves largely comes from, because it gives the person that, that insurance that, this person at least walked the walk and, suffered in the squat rack and, didn't eat the carbs and all that sort of stuff, right? So people look at, people, the coaches that they know have done, because, they say, don't ask someone to do something you wouldn't do yourself. It's so easy for some coaches to just say, okay, no carbs, 2 hours cardio a day, let's do it.
Right. I look at it like training though, right? Like if I'm standing next to you, Terrence, and just putting you through this hellacious workout, like you'll be motivated and you'll go, but you'll be more motivated if I'm dying right there with you.
Yeah, and that's for sure. That's Joe. Every time Joe trains with me, every time, yeah. So that's definitely motivating. He's not just sitting around telling me to do stuff, because he's out here doing it with me. And a lot of things. He's, I guess, semi-retired, pretty retired, and he's still, kicking ass. Well,
the love for the pain never goes away. So.
No, trust me, it doesn't. You might get smaller and weaker, but you're still in there giving her.
That's the thing, yeah, for sure. Him, and then also John. John's been through the trenches for decades,
Yeah.
So yeah. So if guys don't know, I work with John too. Joe, training, John, nutrition stuff, everything.
Yeah, all that stuff about diet. When we were talking, I thought, did we mention this was Meadows?
Yeah, Meadows.
Yeah. Meadows does your diet, and then you train with Joe. Okay. So has Meadows ever given you the egg white and sugar-free ketchup diet?
Definitely not. Yeah, like I said,
my face hurts thinking about that.
Man.
Yeah. I've done that one before. We've joked about it. We've that's the no talent, got to get your glutes ripped diet.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad, because John has been through it. I remember that prep he did for the Arnold, where I think he said he was eating 1,500 calories or something crazy like that, 1,800.
The bikini diet.
Yeah. So,
I loved it too, though, the backlash that he had on that, because it's like everyone was like, that's not healthy, you got to eat more. And John's like, are you fucking kidding? You got to get in shape. It's for a period of time. No one is suggesting you bury your shit right now, but I looked at it the opposite. I was like, this is bodybuilding, because we've all had those preps that are super easy and they almost make you feel a little nervous. And the ones that are really hard, you're like, well, I'm gonna get in shape because this fucking hurts. I don't know how brutal yours have been, but I found my most brutal preps were actually earlier in my career, when I wasn't as knowledgeable, because it was always like, well, just do more cardio and just eat less food. You know?
I mean, I don't think I ever have a harder prep than some of my first couple, and then the only other ones that were really hard was the one where I had a long contest season. I started dieting in March. I remember I started dieting the week after the Arnold, and my last show was October 22nd on my birthday. That was really
That's one of those things where it's not even the dieting, where you just realize you felt like shit for a year. I don't think people realize that, though. It's fun in the beginning, that suffering, but when you're it's nice when you go, well, I got 3 more weeks. Yeah, I just got 6 more months.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
Go ahead.
Oh, and the funny thing was, like, I mean, I didn't know I was going to be competing that long. You know, this was actually the first year classic where, you know, I did my first show, I got third. The next show I did Tampa, I won. It was like, oh, awesome. Then, you know, you got the Olympia in August, and then Matt was like, well, we need to put on size, so we need to try to qualify early. So we did another show, didn't win that, and then he's like, well, then someone hit me up, was like, hey. There's only like 3 or 4 guys on the show. You should try it out. And by that time, I was so done. But I hit up Matt, and Matt was like, "Yeah, you should do it." And then so I just got back on the horse and dealt with it.
Freaking machine. Well, hey, before we lock down here, I do have a couple questions from the viewers. So, and few of them I don't even know what you're going to want to answer, but I'm going to ask them anyways. Okay, when putting together a routine together, do you create the routine, then put the music, or vice versa?
I'll do the music first. I can't, like, I mean, if they pay attention, a lot of my stuff is on beat, and some of it is choreographed with the lyrics. So I have to hear the song first before making the routine.
Gotcha.
How many times do you think you listen to your posing routine music before the show? Like in the total times? Hundreds?
I have to actually watch myself, because if I listen to the song too many times, I'll get sick of it and not want to do it anymore.
Right.
So yeah. But I don't know how many. That's a hard question. I guess probably hundreds. Yeah, over the course of like a couple months. Like I was gonna start on my Olympia routine now, but I got a guest posing in 2 weeks, so I had to put it on hold. I had started it, but I put it on hold to work on that. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot of run through.
So you're good enough where you're gonna have one of those songs eventually that no one's allowed to touch, like you know, like when Kai did Dirty Diana, like no one's allowed. Like it's an unwritten rule. Yeah. Like you would never touch that song now. You're kind of like. All right, well, I can only be embarrassed if I do that, so we're gonna go ahead and leave that shit alone.
Yeah.
Sean Ray obviously has a few that you're like, yeah, you can't. You
couple
can't touch
Mariah
that.
Carey songs are off limits now.
Exactly.
Sean Ray.
Yeah. So that's gonna be you soon. People are gonna be like, oh fuck, I really would have liked to use that song before Terrence stole it from the world. Okay, here's a quick one. Were you natural when you turned pro?
No, I was running my first cycle into that show, so I had competed in April. I weighed 155, and then at nationals I weighed 157. I was definitely leaner for sure. I think I mean, this is kind of a mute point now, people, whatever, but I think I could have turned pro naturally. Like I said, I only gained stage weight 2 pounds. It just would have took me a little bit longer, maybe like 2-3 more years.
So your first cycle was between 2 shows.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's funny because they asked that and I was like, I actually don't know the answer. I like when somebody asks a question I don't know. I'm like, fuck, I want to know too. Off season you already covered. What's your opinion on well, they call them DC stretches, but like weighted stretches, and are they in your arsenal?
I do them sometimes. I don't see a reason why someone wouldn't try and incorporate them. I mean, it takes like a minute, you know. Mm-hmm. There's some evidence behind it. And I know people are like, oh, that's not a ton of research or whatever. But if we waited for everything to have a ton of research, then nothing would happen. Nothing would happen.
Right.
So I think they're cool to add. I've done them a couple of times. I at least have something in there, loaded stretch wise, a couple of times a week. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, this is good. What do you think that Alex had that you didn't have that might have edged him out at the Arnold?
Oh man, I think Alex has a little bit wider frame than me. I think that was the biggest thing with some of his guys. Like his shoulder width is a little bit better than mine, which kind of make with his lats and and his waist is tiny too. Waist is very, very small. I think that just that bit probably edged him out over me. I know I talked to some of the judges, and you know, funny thing is each judge is gonna have something different to say, and When I talk to judges, I listen, and like it's interesting to hear, but a lot of the stuff you still like. I don't think it changes what I do too much, because I already know I think a good bodybuilder already knows their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if they tell you, if you literally didn't know like your arms need to be bigger, then that's I think that's an issue. You know, something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. How you look at yourself every day, you don't know that your arms are 16 inches. This is a problem.
Yeah. So I mean, once I talked to Tim, Tim told me that he just said that prejudging, I was, he said like I guess I was a little flat in night show. I looked better, and he thought I should have won, but he said they didn't judge the night show, which I thought was weird. The other judge I talked to was Tyler. Tyler said I need to work on my back a bit, and I think my back's pretty good, but I think I get what he's saying next to Alex. His lats is so wide, just based on his structure. I can see why he would beat me from the back. I think my legs are better than his, but I guess each judge has their own opinion, and he thinks his back was more important than like my lower body development in that pose. So
what do you think? What do you think is the best you've ever looked ever? Like,
I think Arnold was the best. Yeah. Definitely.
Arnold at the night show, morning show. Where do you think you changed much at all, or?
That's hard to say. I have to go. I don't even know
the Arnold
from what. I have to go back and look. But definitely Arnold, just for the simple fact of the added size I had. I think I've been in shape like that before. Just the added size, just really, I think helped my physique. Yeah.
No, that's good. I think it's what I like about the answer, and I always toss this stuff in, is athletes, when they don't win, look for why they should have won. Champions look for why they didn't
win. Yeah.
And that's like you are, instead of saying, like a lot of people are like, well, what about my legs? What about my legs? And you're thinking, I can see these two things. And I think that's what separates long-term champions is you're saying, okay, let me find a reason. Like you said, I'm the same way. I even tell my clients, like I talk to the judges, I'm like, I don't need you to. There's not a person, I mean, especially at the regional level, like there's nobody on that panel that's been this longer than me, but okay, you can ask them. But it comes down to, cool, let's find out why we think what anything was that was better on them, because I think that's how you end up winning. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now I got to make sure I say this correctly. Are you more of a Breon or a Bumstead? And I don't know if that means fan or you as a human.
I think it means fan.
Okay.
I think it means fan. Yeah, because apparently there's a big thing between those two guys. I guess. Honestly, I don't think about these guys too much like that. But
I love it.
And honestly, it really doesn't affect me that much. Because I mean, I like both their physiques. I get why people like Chris. I get why people like Breon. Chris has a far better structure than Breon, and Breon has some better body parts than Chris. It doesn't really bother me either way. I think personally, I might have chose Breon to win the show last year, but I literally have no issue with Chris winning at all.
Right. No, I think it's funny because I know Chris well enough to know that he's having fun, and people think that there's this big drama. And it's really just it's hyping the sport. It's good for you guys for there be rivalry, and I think sometimes the fans lose track of that. It's like it's not personal, it's bodybuilding. Like we can go back and forth, we can laugh, but they're just having fun. Yeah.
on what is it for your next show? What's it going to take for you to come home super happy?
He needs to win the Arnold or the Olympia. If he wins the Olympia, I promise he'll be happy.
Yeah, I'll be happy. I'll definitely be happy there. No doubt. Yeah. It's tough. I was honestly with the Arnold. I was a little disappointed because just for the simple fact that there was some emotional stuff behind that show with Matt, but I was overall happy with how I looked and the improvements I made. So I think I came away with the Arnold like happy with that placing. I think too, I got like a couple things from that show, like that magazine cover back there. So I think going into the Arnold, personally, I would like to be my highest place, and I got 6th place back in 2017. I got 9th the year before that, and I got 9th the year after that. So personally, for me to be happy, a top 5 would be what I would want. That's what would make me happy. Yeah.
No, I like that. It's funny because, I mean, I've said this a million times, like, your physique to me is just top to bottom so damn close to perfect that it's like, it just really puts into perspective how good the best guys are.
Yeah.
Because you look at you and I'm like, how are you not winning the Olympia every fucking time?
Yeah, it's just so fucking competitive, man. Your division.
It very much is. And the cool thing, and it's funny, like I think I'm like the best example of how much Classic has changed over the years, because I was there the first year. I was at the Olympia first year. The physique I had then to make it to the Olympia doesn't compare to the physique I have now that's Olympic quality. If I competed like I did in 2016 this year, I don't think I placed top 5 in a lot of shows, and that's really cool to say that each year the athletes that are getting better and better and better. And I think this year too I think the athletes I've seen win shows are even better than the athletes that have won the year before or the year before that,
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, I think that division is cranking. It's actually super exciting to watch as a fan too, because although there's front runners, you guys are tight enough that a 4th place guy can win the Olympia next year.
For sure.
A 1st place guy can take 5th. Like, I mean, it really is that tight. I know it feels like a 2-man show because of the last couple of years, but it's really not.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I think another good example of this is, no offense to Danny. Danny has to, first he won the first one, and now I think his last time he won, he either placed 9th or 11th.
Yep.
Same thing with Raj, a top 5 guy. I think this last year he placed 6th or 7th. So those guys that first year that were doing very well, besides like Breon, they're actually dropping and dropping and dropping.
Mm-hmm.
So not because they're getting worse or anything. It's because the guys are getting better and better.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you feel about the how a lot of guys at like the regional level and the state level, they'll do classic because they make the weight. So they think that the weight makes them classic. So, but they don't have the structure for classic. So they wind up wondering why they didn't do better and stuff. Do you feel like too many guys do classic just because they're the right weight?
It's I don't know. I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. And I think, I could say yeah. Now I think about it, yeah. Because they do have divisions for lighter people. They have, you can do the lighter classes as a bodybuilder, or you can do, novice as a bodybuilder. I think to a certain extent, a lot of times classic does take away from some. It's getting better. It's getting a lot better now. I see a lot more bodybuilders that are doing like Patrick Moore, Quentin, Regan. They're back in bodybuilding. So, but I do think, to a certain extent, that classic has kind of messed up people's idea of what bodybuilding is, because they talk about, I want to do. They say I pose like a bodybuilder, and I'm like, that's not a thing. Like, you understand? I hate that phrase, because I'm like, bodybuilders made what quote unquote classic posing is. Lita Brada, a bodybuilder. Frank Zane, bodybuilder. All these guys are bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
People, they think bodybuilding is one thing, and it's not. Because you guys got like Cedric McMillan, he's a great poser,
Yep.
So I hate when they do that. I think, like you said, if they don't fit in classic, do bodybuilding and do bodybuilding how you want to do bodybuilding. If you want to pose however you want to pose, do it. But definitely, like, it's really not that different, classic and bodybuilding. Classic, that we just have a few less poses and our shape is a little different.
Well, I think too is it's starting to prove it. I mean, look at George.
For sure.
I mean, I will not be stunned if he wins the Olympia.
Me either. Yeah, me either.
So I mean, think about that. To think that he was a top level classic a year ago.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, no one listening, including the other top 212 guys, think I'm full of shit. Like, he was very 3rd, right? Feasible. Yeah, he got 3rd last year.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a feasible thing. So it's like that alone should tell guys it's not that fucking different.
Exactly.
You know, if you've got the lines for it. So I mean, I think if you it's just knowing what you have, and like you were saying, Ron, what I run into with athletes is they think at the regional level they'll do better because they're not big enough bodybuilders yet. And I'm like, no, because it's just gonna. I mean, a guy that's built for that is gonna expose your structure terribly. Like you could have a okay frame and it looks terrible next to someone with a wasp waist and wide shoulders. Like take your time, get your ass kicked for a few years and become a good meathead bodybuilder and call it a day. Like
who's your favorite physique of all time?
Don't say me, it's embarrassing. Don't do it this time. Damn it.
So many. My favorite physique, I think my favorite, I have two actually. I think one because he's kind of more my height, but my favorite of all time is Flex Wheeler. Sure. I think that's like a lot of people's favorites for sure. Flex Wheeler, without a doubt.
Do you have a year?
Damn.
This is Ron. This is how his brain works. Don't even.
This is how my brain works.
Just,
you could just skip him.
Different, you know. Yeah, he does look like a lot different from when he started to like. I think my favorite photos of him are those black and white ones. You know, that one I can't when he's not even doing a pose. He's just looking at his quad. Was that like? I don't know what year that was.
I think that's the '98 Arnold.
Yep.
It's like one of the years that a lot of people say that's his, like, you know. Everyone either says '93, the year he turned, you know, and the year he did, or they say 98 Arnold. That's what most people say. So that's
the two times I thought of, honestly, But I was I like that really full look in that '98 one.
Crazy.
What was the other guy though? You only said Flex. What was the other guy?
I think for me, him being closer to my height, I think Sean Ray. And I know a lot of people don't like him for whatever reason, but physique wise, you got to say he's one of the best bodybuilders.
Oh, for sure.
Unbelievable.
I definitely love his physique, and I think him being shorter, I'm like, okay, this is something I can like aspire to look like more so than a Flex Wheeler.
Right. Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. We appreciate it. You gave us an hour of your time, over an hour of your time. You know, that was very generous of you. You know, I know you're a wheeling, dealing businessman who's always hustling. So
I'm trying,
trying. How can just let everyone know how they can get a hold of you? What's the best way to inquire and all that stuff?
Oh man, so everything's pretty much Rough Diesel. Rough Diesel on Instagram, Rough Diesel YouTube, roughdiesel.com website. If they want to email me, that's the only different one. roughdiesel1@gmail.com. Someone stole it from me, I guess. But, stole the wrist. There's another Rough Diesel out there somewhere, but
right.
Yeah. So that's how you guys can get ahead.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll be watching the prep and watching your clients continue to evolve as well, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give Joe a smack on the ass for us.
You can give him knuckles for me, but
yeah, I was gonna give a pat on the back.
Hey, whatever you do in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, man.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, see you.
Thanks, buddy.
That was fun.
Hey, we appreciate it. I'll send you a link or something.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Tag the hell out of you. Okay, good luck. Train safe.
When do you think it's hello?
Hello, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You bet.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Go. See you.
Okay.
Terrence Ruffins. Good guy.
Awesome. Absolutely. It was good to see so many. I don't know why it surprises me, but it's starting to feel after over a year of episodes like we tell people what to say before the show.
Oh, about the training and stuff?
About the training, about the understanding of just the process. I mean, it's like I hear it, and then even him, like, and I was happy to hear, but even surprised. It's like he bodybuilds 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've had this conversation with so many of my people that are on the edge of turning pro, where I'm like, but you're doing it part-time.
Yeah.
Like, you're compete, and some of these people are more genetically gifted than the people that they're competing against, and some of them aren't. And I'm like, take away that difference.
Yeah, that's why it also goes that way. You ever meet someone who they have a crazy life and bodybuilding is just their hobby, and they still excel at it and get to like a crazy level.
Yep.
And they're absolutely aware that they're not prioritizing it because they've actually decided it comes third.
And that's okay. Like, to me, that's fantastic. Them. Yeah. It's but making that choice.
Better at it. They're still better at it than like everyone else.
Yeah. It almost irritates you, but I am in that standpoint where it's like, there's nothing wrong with that as long as they've made that choice. Yeah. I think when people are on that edge and they're looking for it and they're like, this means so much to me. And I'm like, no, it doesn't.
And they're complaining about it and they don't realize that they're not prioritizing it. Yeah.
Because I've told people a million times, my best preps or my best shows were always connected to years where it literally, the first year I worked with Chris in 2010, when I went from no one ever knew me to top 5 at a national level show, we had been working together for 6 months. And I messaged or text Chris. I said, hey, I hate to do this, but it's my anniversary. You think I can have a meal? And he's like, oh, so you haven't been having any meals off the diet?
Right.
No, just what you wrote down the entire time, every day.
He just assumed you were 90-10.
Yeah, because most people are. And then what was funny about it was, so he goes, okay, but the only rule is I need pictures the day after. I need to know what you ate. And so I was like, okay, so we do it. And that then became part of our program.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, shit, okay. Now that I know you weren't doing that, we need to utilize this. So every couple of weeks, he would write out what I was supposed to have for my cheat meal, which obviously is not a cheat since it's in the plan. But it was just funny because it's like, well, it's not really a shock. That was your best year. You were living for it. The only thing, like, I even felt dumb asking because I was like, this is so weak. Like, really? I got to have a cheat meal? This is my anniversary? You know what I mean? But I wasn't even in prep. My show was my show was 8 months away, and I wasn't sure if I should ask.
Yeah, you were accidentally not eating out. Yeah.
But that's what I think people don't get. So when you ask a guy like Terrence, who it's very easy to see he's genetically gifted. But then you're like, oh, but he also is way more disciplined than you are.
Yeah. I really, him training with Joe and stuff. I mean, that's he's got such a good captain steering the ship there. That physique's just going to continue to improve. I think that having someone like Joe, and then also, having John there as his coach, for nutrition, obviously he's talking to John about training too. Those two guys are both going to be really good at managing the safety of what he's doing, which with a physique like that, obviously you don't want anything to ever, disrupt the flow. You don't want a guy like that to get, you don't want to get hurt. I mean,
yeah, no, for sure.
And that physique, there's just,
and I don't envy the
bird frame and the crazy tapers and just it's
crazy though. I don't and I mean I appreciate it, like to be to the point where you're like, okay, I literally cannot let my legs grow any bigger, not because but because he's got a weight limit and he can only put on so much mass, and he knows that if it goes in the wrong place, he'll actually look worse, so to speak.
Like if he can gain 3 pounds of muscle and he wants it all on his back and arms.
Yeah, and I mean that's when it's like, man, you are literally a sculptor at this point.
Yeah.
Thankfully, like I all kidding aside, like that is a level most people never touch.
It kind of fit with his art, how he was talking about how he was an artist, because most guys, most young guys may be aggro to get bigger and better and stuff. Their brain might not even think about the art side of how the physique's going to look, and guys add as much muscle as they can everywhere, right?
When bigger isn't always better. I mean, you do reach a point where it's like, I'm there with a couple guys now where I'm like, okay, I really want to watch this and this, so we're slowing down.
Right.
Like
totally.
Here's where we're at. So it's cool to watch, and it's definitely something where the one thing I think also gets missed is he said, you know, he's lucky to gain 3 pounds, but 3 pounds on him in the right place looks crazy. 3 pounds on you in your prime, you wouldn't even know it was there.
No, wouldn't even see it.
You're too big. So 3 pounds is like, oh yeah, my arm is up half inch. Like, oh, we can't tell.
I could add 3 pounds. I could add 3 pounds of bone density and not be any bigger. You know,
it's classic. But no, I mean, it's cool to see that difference, and that's the side of bodybuilding that I love, because what he said I agree with, which is I group all the divisions as bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like I don't consider men's physique to not be bodybuilding. It's a different bodybuilding. They're doing the exact same thing, but the goal is different than mine. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm not entertained watching it. It's just not my thing. But I absolutely respect the shit out of the physique. So I'm like, dude, the guy looks awesome. Like how, if you can say he doesn't look awesome, there's something wrong with you. Like really? Trust me, your wife thinks he looks awesome.
Yeah. The 10 million hits his photo got think you look awesome too.
No doubt. Well, good week, man.
So, yeah. Any final thoughts? Any Netflix recommendations you're going to leave us with?
Oh man, no. You know what's crazy? The only thing that I've done has been way too busy because I'm moving and everything. So I found a new place, and then just I did what I always do, Ron. You know, you're super busy, so what do? You make it worse.
Yeah, I decided to move.
Yeah, well, I was going to move, so then I decided, let's refurnish the new place with all new shit, because that makes sense. And then, you know what? Since we only got a couple weeks, let's schedule my video guy every weekend. Right. For me to be in California or him to be here.
Plus, you're developing that new app, that new dating app you were telling me about.
Yes, the dentist system.
Yes.
Which we will cover later. So we got the
Dusty system.
Yes. System. That's where you come into play, sir.
I'll help
get you to.
It's an inside joke.
I'll get you your cut.
Yes.
But so it's been crazy. But and I took the 2-a-day J training that we got, and
how are you liking the split? I messaged Jay. We have to tell everyone. Jay mentioned the twice-a-day training split that he did.
So we had to. So I have to get it. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna reach out to Jay.
But you didn't just want it. You didn't just want. You wanted exactly because you wanted to know the AM/PM split he did.
Yeah, and I didn't. And here's the funny thing though, is I'm like, he's not gonna answer because, and I don't expect him to. You know what I mean? Send the text. He sends it back, perfectly written out. And then my favorite part was the very end. Full-time bodybuilder, bro.
Yep.
I freaking lost it when I read that. I'm like, and you know what's funny? It really is
twice a day.
It really is though. Like even today, because the days move. So Monday I've always been off. Well, I'm not off today because it's how it fell. And it was funny. My training partner was like, "Well, you just want to train on Sunday?" I'm like, "Nope. Yeah. 2 on, 1 off. Like I got to stick to this exact plan that he's doing."
So I had my split set up for like 15 years where every week was identical.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that's how I did it. And then when I stopped competing and started working at Mutant and all that stuff, I moved to a 2 on, 1 off. So I had the same experience you had where for the first time in like a long time, my weeks were different. I was sometimes training Sunday, sometimes training Monday. Like, those, and it was like, but it was funny because it was time. I needed the change. I needed the dynamic shift in my life. Like sometimes Wednesday night, I just go home from work.
Like, shit, I got nothing to do tonight.
I got nothing to do Wednesday after work. I just go home, spend some time. Like, you know what I mean? So it was funny, but I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, so that was a tricky thing. And you know what it is? So the first weekend, I didn't know how to train. Because it's like, we joke, but I'm dead serious. Like, I don't know how to not just go. So I had to be smart because I'm like, for example, the big day for me was the 2 days are I train back one day in the morning, but then I have deadlifts at night and traps. So I was like, all right. So of course I knock the shit out of back. Like I'm not gonna train it again for a week.
They do 8-plate hammer pull downs.
Yeah. I mean, literally, I went nuts. And then 7 hours later, and I haven't done deadlifts since COVID.
Ah, okay.
So of course I walked in. I'm like, I'm only going to go up to 600 pounds today. That's how we're doing this. And I'm like, so I'm cranking along, and I get done with deads, and I didn't go nuts. Truthfully, I'm not being funny. I got 585 for 10. And I stopped.
Oh.
Like I put the video up, and you could see I didn't even push for a rep.
First thing I thought was, what a joke. First thing I thought.
But what was funny is I get done, and we move over to the rack deads, and Tommy, my training partner, is a fucking beast. We get done, and I was like, that was dumb, huh? And he's like, yeah, no one's doing this shit. But it was fun. I mean, like, and you know what's weird, because I've had a tough year of just too much shit. It put me back into bodybuilding. I don't have time at all to do anything else. It's like eat, clients, train, eat all day long. Holy shit, it's 2 a.m. Got to go to bed.
Dusty, this is what I've always known about you. You need structure to keep you out of trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever trouble my brain and or body might find, I don't have time for right now. Yes. So, and my clients know I'm further insane, because now I'm responding to emails at 3 a.m. and I'm like, usually it's because I woke up. Now I haven't been to bed.
Well, one of the best things about you is that you never sleep, so you have all these hours to do things with.
That's the thing. It's actually become a positive. I'm like, there's plenty of time for this shit. But no, it's been fun. I think the only thing I'm going to do this week is I am going to taper back some of the movements.
Yeah, I
don't know how to taper the intensity.
I got an idea. How about if you smash back in the morning and you do barbell rows, which I know you did.
Yes, I did.
How about you only pick one, either deadlifts or rack pulls?
You know why I didn't, though, right? Because I have the video, and I know Jay did both.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, but he didn't go crazy heavy. So like his deads were 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And rep them out. So I am going to probably do that. Just because I can, not because of the training, it's because I don't see this lasting 8 weeks if I go like I went last week.
Well, just manage your volume.
Yeah, so it's just going to be that, and I'm going to do that because, again, the point was to try something different.
How did it feel to do? How did it feel to do quads in the morning and hams at night, or what would you do? Hams in the morning, quads at night.
Hams in the morning, quads at night. I made an alteration before that because I had a theory which I think proved right. I didn't want my hams to have time to tighten up, so I literally finished training, drove home, ate a meal, took an hour, went back to the gym.
Oh, you put them close together.
Yeah, because I noticed when I got to the gym for deadlifts on back day, my back was already sore. And I was like, okay, I think that gap is a little long. I don't want to feel sore in my hams because I really have developed a good way. And I'm going to give the credit to John Meadows. I watched enough of his stuff and talked to him enough. I'm really locked into my hamstrings now, the training. They'll cramp if they get tight. So I didn't want that to happen when I had, 1,000 pounds on my back.
Right.
So, yeah, I made that gap close, and I think I'll continue doing that. And tomorrow is the dead and back day. I'm going to do the same thing and smash them together.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, the longer gap. And I feel fine, though. I mean, energy-wise and shit, I think I'm so amped to train, so it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people were asking me, like, how's that feel? And I'm like, it's fucking awesome. I get to train twice a day.
I thought I read a study, which of course is like, it's like micromanaging all these things, but it was about, I think it was about the brain, when you're like alert and your nervous system's firing well and you're really responsive with your nervous system. I thought it said the perfect gap was 6 hours.
Which I could see, because I think we did, it was 8 hours on the back day. So that might've been it. But again, I felt, the training went well. But I think it is going to be managing that line, and I might play with it a little bit because I think we were at 3 hours ish on legs, 3.5 by the time I stretched and got everything moving.
Okay.
So it was a tight gap for sure.
Awesome.
But I will say that it was a little bit tight because when I was showering to go to the gym, I was like, "Fuck." Here we go. Didn't I just leave there?
I remember that, I did a double split several times. I would sometimes it would be something that I would do like 6 weeks out from a show. I would go to a double split just because I was just trying to like eat up time between meals and stay busy. And you know, get some extra time at the gym in the posing room and like, you know, just all that bullshit. And, you know, the quad ham day was always interesting because if
I wouldn't have even structured it like this. You know, that's why I wanted his, because I was like, I'm going to do it. Once we talked, I decided I wanted to do this. So I'm like, I'm going to write it all out. And I'm like, fuck, I don't really know how I want to put this together. You know, so I was glad that Jay gave me the outline, because nowhere near what I would have written. And now that I've run through a week, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know? I always did quads first and then hams at night. That's it. I don't think I ever tried hams in the morning, but that's an interesting flip.
Yeah, well, and that one just works well for me because my quads are so dominant compared to my hams.
Yeah.
I would much rather be walking into the gym a little physically and mentally beat up for quads, because it's an exciting body part to train for me, than lying leg curls.
Right.
You know.
What's wrong with lying leg curls?
Toothache in the hamstring, not good. A different pain, my friend. But yeah, so it's good. We'll see where we're at. So how's the cycling going? You gotta give us a brief update real quick, because I care.
Oh well, hey,
not
man,
drugs, people. Not drugs.
Yeah. Different kind of cycling. No, so you know, I know I've mentioned it before. I rode last night for 2 hours. I try to ride every day almost for about an hour. But it rained for like 5 days straight. I didn't get out on my bike all week. So last night I rode for 2 hours straight, 2.5 hours actually. It's going really well. I'm making progression every time I go out. Getting more comfortable and starting to move around better and pulling off like little things that are coming. And I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited.
What's the tie-in that you and I spoke about, though, that I kind of want to bring in with bodybuilding, with the reps?
Here's the thing. And so, you know, when I was young and I was riding, it was just all about having fun and like, I'm gonna try to learn that trick, and you just practice a trick and like keep trying it until you accidentally did it, and then you get some confidence, and then, you know, you just keep practicing. It was just, but you didn't recognize any of the processes because I was too young and immature. But now, after running my life through the filter of bodybuilding for 30 fucking years, I see everything for breaking down to basics, mastering basics, no matter how boring and repetitive. There's no such thing as boring. It's you just fucking do it. So I just practice these basic things over and over because I know that I have to get awesome at them. And not everything has to be, it's like a meditative sort of experience for me. It's like I'm doing something different with my brain. I like turning off, you know, I don't look at my phone for like 2 hours straight. It's great. And it's all about reps. Like, it's just funny. Bodybuilding prepares you for so many things, because I keep running into these things in life where it's about reps. Like, you have to do something over and over and over in order to get good at it.
Yep.
And, you know, it's, you have a lot of respect for when you see somebody do something, whether it be a fucking trick on a bike or a business move, or people don't realize how much experience goes into that. How many times they did it beforehand when it didn't work. You know, like we're talking about the skateboarders that'll try something 1,000 times, and you're like, how does this guy there's something in him driving him.
Right.
He has to do it. And he knows it's about reps. He knows it might fall 1,000 times trying this grind or whatever. And other people might think he's crazy, but to him, it's completely sane behavior. He's just going to do it because he knows it's a matter of time before he lands it.
Well, the thing is, you eventually get to, I used to use this with sales, but it's the same with the gym. Like when you first learn how to deadlift, you know, you run through the list. How's my vertical shin alignment? Where's my chest at? Where are my eyes? And you run through that list.
Pull with the lats, lock the arms.
Yeah. And then when you've been doing it for a while, you don't think. You just grab the bar and go. And it's the same. It's something I used to teach guys in sales that I think is beneficial to people. Is I used to teach them the technique, like literally the process. They come in, they ask for this. We start at number 1. Then if you sell them that, you go to number 2, number 3, number 4. And in their head, they would do it. They would run through my routine. And that's when it was conscious that they were doing it. And when they get really good, it's unconscious.
Yeah.
They just do it.
Yeah. And as an older, more mature person, I know that the difference between stage 1 and stage 2 that you just described is just simply repetition.
Yep.
Because, you know, when you're younger, it's overwhelming. You're like, fuck, how did that guy get to be able to do that?
Yep.
But then you get older and you're like, oh, he fell 1,000 times.
Yeah. That's
and
it.
then he landed it.
Yep. No, it's true. And eventually it becomes almost impossible to not get.
Yeah. So
have you ever had a bad rep in the gym where you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Like, how did I end up on my toes on a deadlift? Like, what the fuck?
And
your brain doesn't do that anymore. Like, what?
It's your body humbling you. You gotta go back to check your list again every once in a while.
But it's good. Like I that's why when you said that, it was funny. I actually put it in my phone to make sure to ask, because the reps comment got me. As it's like, that's life.
Yeah, it's just another thing that I enjoy doing that involves focus, and then it's like all these little rewards come because you see the building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like bodybuilding, you see the little building blocks. Like it's pretty cool. But I recommend everybody, you know, find something that they can do, whether it be a yoga class or a hobby or fucking getting into a book or something where they fucking turn their phone off for an hour or two. Because I tell you, that's one of the best parts of it.
Oh, for sure. No, I could definitely see that. It's amazing. I had that actually when I was up there with you and I had hurt my neck, remember? And I dropped the dumbbell. I broke my phone that day.
Yeah.
So no one had access to me for 2 days. And for the first 4 hours, it was very stressful. And then for the rest of the time, I realized it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not dead. And the world is not crumbling because I can't get a hold of Dusty because no one gives a shit. This is awesome.
Yeah. No, it's good times.
So, all right, man. Well, another solid week. I think, do we have anybody scheduled for next week? I thought you had somebody.
Yeah.
That person. I remember.
We have a guest for next week. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
No doubt.
Okay.
Well, until then, man.
Okay. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.